The book, whose free translation could very well be Formative Action, From Instrument to Educational Design, published in April 2024, proposes a fundamental redefinition in the field of education. This concise work, with 88 pages, is aimed at teachers, school administrators, and researchers interested in revisiting traditional pedagogical practices and conservative assessment methods. The central theme of the book is the replacement of the concept of formative assessment with formative action. The authors argue that the term assessment often evokes associations with tests and grading, shifting the focus away from the dynamic teaching-learning process. In contrast, they advocate for a cyclical and proactive approach, intrinsically integrated into curricular design, which privileges co-regulation between teachers and students. The primary objective is to avoid a merely instrumental perspective of assessment and foster a culture of continuous reflection, where information obtained about learning serves as a basis for guiding immediate, personalized pedagogical actions with verifiable results. The book's structure is organized into 4 main chapters, preceded by an introduction with theoretical foundations and followed by a conclusion that encourages practical application. In the introduction, the authors justify the terminological change and present 3 fundamental pillars: the importance of language precision, formative action as a capacity-building process, not as the sum of isolated feedback events, and the need for its integration into a coherent curricular design. The first chapter details the action plan circular, a continuous and goal-oriented flow with 5 stages to implement formative action. Orient and anticipate, think and generate, interpret, communicate and decide. Act attentive to data and verify, reflect and anticipate. Through examples, the emphasis is on personalization and autonomy in achieving goals. The second chapter addresses the emergence in students of a quality substrate, promoting metacognition as a prior gain in knowledge, guided by the learning design defined beforehand, with the aim of ensuring self-regulation and fostering autonomy. The third chapter criticizes transmissive feedback, characterized by direct and quick responses and corrections from the teacher, passively received by the student, which can generate dependency and have limited reach. In contrast, it advocates for transformative feedback, which prioritizes student autonomy and agency through questions, examples, and suggestions, encouraging iterative practices, self-correction, peer review, and self-assessment. The fourth chapter addresses the integration of formative action in curricular design, proposing a 6-step process for pedagogical planning, from defining objectives to implementing feedback cycles. One of the work's strengths lies in its practical approach and the clarity with which it demystifies common conceptions. The replacement of assessment with action avoids associations with formal tests and highlights the active role of teachers and students. The 5-stage model offers an explicit roadmap with practical examples for classroom application. The criticism of excessive transmissive feedback is equally pertinent, presenting effective transformative alternatives. However, the work has some limitations. There is limited discussion about the applicability of formative action in different cultural and socioeconomic contexts, particularly in schools with scarce resources or heterogeneous classes. Additionally, despite mentioning digital technologies, there is no in-depth exploration of their potential for formative action. These gaps restrict the universality of the proposals. In the current educational context, marked by discussions about personalized teaching and the development of 21st century skills, the book demonstrates relevance. It proposes strategies aligned with trends such as project-based learning and prioritizing student autonomy. The applicability of the ideas is viable in flexible curricular systems, although it may require adaptations in more rigid systems and investment in teacher training. The emphasis on less correction, more reflection is consonant with contemporary practices, But its implementation requires time and confidence in students' self-regulation capacity, which can be a challenge in contexts with strong pressure for immediate results. In summary, formative action, from instrument to design, is a valuable contribution for educators who aspire to go beyond traditional assessment models. It stands out for its originality and practical utility despite the contextual limitations noted. It is particularly recommended for teachers seeking reflective methodologies who value error as part of the learning process, and for leaders interested in promoting more collaborative and student-centered school cultures. Its potential impact includes reducing teacher overload with excessive corrections and fostering students' active participation in their own learning. The work inspires a revision of the teacher's role, who shifts from a mere transmitter of content or corrector of errors to a designer of learning experiences. The book thus constitutes an invitation to action, not just for reading, encouraging educators to implement its innovative proposals. Formative Action, from Instrument to Design, published in 2024 by John Catt, copyrights Renee Knaber, Dominique Sluismans, Valentina David, and Blanca Wild Lopez.